So, Jennifer, I thought we'd start with Francois Legault today in the wake of, faltering polls, both for the party and for him personally. He says he's now re-energized by these bad numbers and gearing for a fight. That's the basic take from him today.
Yes, well, it's a bit of a change to what it was. So remember after the by-election in Quebec City in Jean Talon in October 2023, after that he said, "Je suis blessé." Like, I mean, this is a bit better than that. I mean, who says je suis blessé? Like, I'm hurt, I'm wounded. I mean, and obviously we've been paying for it ever since that the voters rejected them because, it's caused all kinds of fallout. But, I heard you on with Jim a bit earlier, talking about it. I mean, he has the same thoughts that I do. I mean, Francois Legault's got he's got a super majority, but he doesn't have a very deep bench. So whether, the people that we would have thought might line up to replace him, they've either resigned. So in the case of Pierre Fitzgibbon, they are not going to run again in the case of Christian Dubé, or they have disqualified themselves by behaviors in the case of the Deputy Premier Geneviève Guilbeault, as the Transport Minister photographs herself regularly driving with no seatbelt. This is, you can't run for the Premier of a province if you've got, just a treasure trove of oppo for all the parties just to go after you. So that's not going to fly. That's always a good note for all young politicians. Watch out for the social media. It can be very dangerous.
All right. Look, that's one thing. As far as the deep bench, when Jim was talking about this, it's hard if you went down the list, right, of the I guess, the best-known ministers. Pierre Fitzgibbon is gone, as he said. Christian Dubé's got his own trouble with Santé Québec. Geneviève Guilbeault embroiled in this Saclic scandal, where, by the way, UPAC showed up today.
Yes, indeed.
So I don't know. It seems to me, there's only so many things you can say, although Jim brought up something I had not thought about, this idea that maybe, just maybe, despite the faltering numbers, maybe, surprise, surprise, a spring election for the CAQ, not waiting until the fall next year. What do you think?
Well, the thing is, we see that obviously since the last time we spoke, the Liberals finally have a leader. So, I think that it could be something that Francois Legault does. You could check the numbers. I mean, I don't know how accurate this poll is. It's always going to be nice when there's a new leader. It's going to show some bump. But I mean, by the spring, Francois Legault could have a pretty good idea of what the numbers are looking like. And I know for a fact that the CAQ, they're data driven in terms of polling and stuff like that. They react to poll numbers. So it could happen. I mean, it's not impossible, and that could be all the sooner that we could be rid of them.
Yeah, we're that to happen. So we're not there yet, but we shall see. Listen, a couple other things there. I'm not aware of this. I'm not familiar with the story on the BC Supply Management Bill. What was this about, or what is it about?
Well, it's the Bloc Québécois. So before Parliament was prorogued, one of the things that fell off the order paper was a bill protecting supply management in the event of future trade talks, and this is very disturbing to the Bloc because supply management is a huge issue in Quebec. So basically, with no opposition whatsoever anywhere, it got through the Parliament. The House of Commons last week, and then the Senate last night. So it's through both houses of Parliament, and so therefore supply management is protected. So when Mark Carney goes into these trade negotiations with the Americans and others, the supply management won't be on the table. Now, I worked for a supply managed lobby, the chicken farmers, many, many years ago, and I had colleagues that were in Geneva more often than they were in Ottawa because it's that important, because it used to always be on the table. And the fact that both houses of Parliament passed it and there was no opposition to it is huge, because nobody can then, our neighbors, our trading partners, or our trading opponents, however you want to look at them, they can't go and say, well, such and such a party is opposed to it or whatever. We can see that there are other commodities that might have some problems with this because they think that it could hinder their access to markets, but that's their issue. But thankfully, the politicians were able to get that passed, because that'll be a huge breath of relief for literally hundreds of thousands of farmers across Canada.
Last thing I want to bring up here, Mark Carney, so we know the G7 now. I guess we can call that a success. Even Donald Trump said today, I had a little clip of him saying, hey, Canada, he thought G7 was... You have that clip, Ron? So he was, of course, talking about something else, which is the Iran-Israel situation, but then he also said this.
I had to come back early from the G7, which was terrific, by the way, in Canada. Really terrific. Good people.
Look, he likes us. He really, really likes us. We're good people, according to Donald Trump.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
No,
Thanks.
go figure. Of course, that's today. So, no, we can say the G7 was a success. I know there's some controversy over the arrival, obviously, of Narendra Modi yesterday, but you think Mark Carney's done a pretty good job here so far?
I do, and I think that the G7 was a success. I mean, obviously, the departure of our president next door, not our president, but the president next door, it eclipsed a lot of the things. But obviously, some of these discussions that went on behind the scenes were successful. I think it positioned Canada because it shows our biggest trading partner that they might be our biggest trading partner, but they're not our only trading partner. So, on the heels of the G7, the PMO announced today that the Prime Minister will be going in advance of the NATO meetings next week, which are going to be much better, of course, because of the defense spending and the commitment to 2% of GDP. But he's also going to be going to Brussels. He's going to be speaking to some EU leaders about multiple points of cooperation. So that's going to look very interesting for Canada. So I think that what the Prime Minister's goal was to position Canada differently than it has been in a long time. And I think that, he's largely been successful. I mean, the guy does not let grass grow under his feet. He's up and around, and he's going to Europe. So I think that this is going to be good. So he's going to diversify our trade relationships, and there's a lot going on in the world, and it's a dangerous time, as we know. So our participation, our fulsome participation in NATO, and especially in terms of pulling our weight in terms of defense spending and military, it's very important right now.
Okay, I want you to hear this clip. So Mark Carney was asked by Mike Lecouture, CTV reporter, about this 30-day deadline, right, that we said we'd reach a deal with the U.S. This is like a big thing coming out of the G7. Even though it seems kind of vague, it's there, and people looked at it and said, oh, look, there's a plan in the works. I want you to hear the question here, Jennifer, and the answer, which when he was done with this, I thought, there's a little Justin Trudeau-like kind of an answer, isn't it? Listen to this.
I wanted to ask about this 30-day window now that you've set up with President Trump. Can you explain, was this your idea for a 30-day window? Are you trying to put a deadline in place? And is retaliation still, do you move to retaliation if this 30 days expires without a deal? What's the rationale here, and what happens if you don't get to a deal?
Well, look, there are many aspects of the relationship with the United States, and many of your good questions have touched on them, from security, border security, commercial, financial, otherwise. And we don't want to, with respect to the specifics around specific tariffs, there's a certain amount of information that's necessary. There's certain decisions that can be taken given that information and given the relative perspectives. And quite often in negotiations, having a form of deadline is helpful to concentrate the mind. And that can be the case here. The teams are working well. There's exchange of information, exchange of ideas, and having that focus will be helpful. What was the second part of your question?
Retaliation. You have not retaliated to the doubling of steel and aluminum.
We have not yet. We retain the flexibility in order to do so, and we are looking. But I will say one thing which is related to that, which is we are looking very actively about the risks from third party or third country flows of steel, and mainly steel, but possibly aluminum, into Canada. And the need to provide protections from that. So we're looking at the modalities and ways of doing that, and we're very alive to that. That's the first. We're also, of course, looking to provide liquidity and other support to the firm. So, look, we have consistently responded in the best interest of the Canadian industry and Canadian workers when there have been these illegal and unjustified tariffs put in place. We do so in a way tailored to each situation. We have multiple tools with which we can respond.
He keeps going, by the way, for a little longer. I just thought, just to give you some context there, to me that was kind of like, I say Justin Trudeau-like in a sense because there was really no answer in that answer at all.
No, there wasn't. And, I think it goes back to what I was saying last week or the week before, that, he is obviously going to limit what he says because he is obviously, or not obviously, but apparently in discussions with Donald Trump directly. So, he's going to, keep his powder dry, but he could have said that a lot more briefly. And I hope that he takes the time when he's in the air going to Europe this weekend to work with his comms teams on, you can say that a lot better, because that's not he's way more articulate than that.
Yeah, that's clearly not his strength. It's surprising, because you would have thought that's a question you figured he would get and would expect, because that was, as I said, a major piece coming out of the G7. So, I don't know, it just seemed a bit odd to me today. Jennifer, thank you. Appreciate it.